Say you get a loan from the bank. The requirements of you securing that loan require security, which, being the good citizen that you are, you provide security. Your house, your car, your bike, you provide the security. Requirement number 2 is that you make that payment by January 2019. Again, like the good citizen that you are, you make that payment. But unfortunately, you realize that the security you give to the bank was sold as early as January last year. What do? How do you gain your property back? What do the laws of Uganda have to say about this? In this YouTube video, I'm going to cover these questions. Just keep watching. My name is Nagaib Johan and welcome to the Ask Me About the Law YouTube channel. So the Ask Me About the Law YouTube channel is a place where we have free and honest conversations about the law, especially in regards to commercial and cyberspaces. If this sounds like something that you're interested in, please like this video, go back to the homepage, like this YouTube channel, also hit the notification bell so that you are notified every time I release new content, and I release new content religiously every week. The backdrop of this is one Mrs. Beatrice, the director of a company called Macdowel Company, proceeded to secure a loan from Stanbic Bank. The technicalities of the loan required that she needs to have made the payments of the loan back to the bank, which she alleges she did. It only then came to her attention after that her property that she used as security for the loan had been sold to executive employees of Stanbic Bank. I know, it sounds like I'm overseeing, but bear with me. Like I said, I'm going to explain the bigger picture. Now, say you are in this situation, you try to get the loan, right? The parameters of the loan agreement require you to have made the payment as early as December or early January 2019, which you do, being the good citizen that you are. You make the payment of the loan back to the bank. Ideally, under the law, the provisions are that that property is supposed to revert back to you. So if there is any arrangement, activity, transaction that limits you from having that property you use as security to revert back to you, there is a problem, and the law addresses it by providing that that activity, that arrangement or transaction is illegal. This is provided for under Section 14 of the Mortgage Act, which provides for what we call the right to discharge. The right to discharge under the law states that whenever a mortgagor, which would be you, the individual that secures the loan from the bank, clear all your pending arrears, the debt to the bank, the property is supposed to revert back to you. And I quote, Section 14 of the Mortgage Act provides what is the right to discharge, and it defines the right to discharge as on the payment of all the monies and the performance of all other conditions and obligations secured by the mortgage, and on the payment of any other costs and expenses properly incurred by the mortgagee in exercising any of his or her rights under the mortgage. The mortgagee shall, at the request and at the cost of the mortgagor, release the mortgage at any time and any arrangement or provision in the mortgage instrument or otherwise which one purports to deprive the mortgagor of the right, 2 seeks to fetter the exercise of that right, or 3 stipulates for collateral advantage which is unfair, unconditional, and inconsistent with the right to discharge is void. So what this means in the case of Miss Beatrice Odongo, what these individuals that are perpetrators behind Myred Investment Company Limited, their acts are amounting to violation of high enjoyment of the property, which is protected and provided for under Section 14 of the Mortgage Act. So by default, in this just prima facie on that entire arrangement, we should understand that this relationship, this sale, is null and void according to the law. So what remedy is available to you as the aggravated party, who would be you who's watching this video? I recommend that you watch this video. I'm going to leave it somewhere in this video. I'm going to leave I'm going to leave a link in the description box of this video for you to watch an episode I did, which is called how to legally hold a mortgage debt recovery process. It will elaborate exactly on the procedure you should follow or your legal counsel should follow. I advise you strongly, though, I recommend that you should have legal counsel do this for you. Otherwise, if you do it alone, there's a little bit of technicalities. You may screw up more than actually help your case. Anyway, we proceed. So what Section 14 of the Mortgage Act means, to put it mildly, is that if the mortgagor, who would be you that is watching this video, that is looking for how you can recover your property that you use as security for a mortgage, if you endeavored to clear all your outstanding debts, that means the debt that you secured as the loan from the bank and any other expenses that the bank may have incurred while maintaining or as legal fees in the transaction, and you endeavor to also clear those expenses, then technically all the property you provided as security for the bank needs to revert back to you as the legal owner. So if the bank participates in anything that is going to deny you enjoyment of your right as the property owner, then that whatever the bank does is a violation of your right, and you can challenge this in a court of law, provided you prove and raise your argument on that regard. Section 39, Clause 4 of the Mortgage Act states that a mortgagee who refuses or neglects to release the mortgage under Section 14 commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 200 currency points. So every time you hear me say 200 currency points, the Mortgage Act equates a currency point to around 20,000 Uganda shillings. So for every time I say one currency point, that is equivalent to 20,000 shillings. Like I said, hypothetically, right, because this is a matter that hasn't yet been to court, it's just individual investigations that everyone is throwing around allegations. Mrs. Beatrice is alleging this, Stanbic Bank is alleging that. Now, in the unfortunate event or fortunate event that Mrs. Beatrice had not endeavored to clear her loan and the bank is entitled to what we call a right to sell, I'm going to leave linked in the description box of this video, and somewhere on this video when I edit I'll put a link to a video I did defining what is a right of sale. So a bank has what we call a right of sale, which entitles the bank to sell property in case you, the viewer watching this video, who went to the bank and got a loan, fails to pay the debt back to the bank. So what the bank will do is it will sell that property to try and recover the money that they lent out to you. But the law provides for how that should be done, which I have a video I did. It is called Family Loses Around 30 Billion. Again, I'm going to leave it somewhere in this video, and I'm also going to leave it linked in the description box of this video. Remember to check it out. Bank hasn't followed that procedure of ensuring and communicating to Ms. Beatrice Odongo that they're carrying out the sale. That is again grounds to justify for you as the one that has lost property to claim for your property. You can actually go to court and you'll have a very strong case, and you raise a very good argument that will entitle you to recover your property from the bank. Beatrice Odongo continues to allege that the executive members of the bank, this is also by the way backed up by the CEO magazine, which states that the executive members of the bank are the brainchild or are the directors behind Myraid Company Limited, Myraid Investment Limited, that conducted and bought the property that Ms. Beatrice Odongo provided as security when she proceeded to secure a loan from Stanbic Bank. And I'm going to state them. It says that one, Kenneth is Mr. Kenneth is the executive head of global marketing at Stanbic Bank. Mr. Lawrence Kawesa is the global business manager at Stanbic Bank. Mr. Alan Muhinda is the interest rates dealer, Stanbic Bank. Ms. Daisy is the treasury sales dealer, Stanbic Bank. Mr. Emmanuel Rekeba is the head products and analytics, Stanbic Bank. Mrs. Maureen Kembaba Zikaziwe is also working with Stanbic Bank. Mr. Lubega is also working with Stanbic Bank. Now, the fact that all the directors behind this company, Myraid Investment, that purchased Mrs. Ida's property, already raises very questionable questions regarding this entire transaction. And I'm going to explain what I mean exactly by this. Section 30 of the Mortgage Act provides for persons who we would say are legally allowed to participate in purchasing of property that the bank will be selling under the right of sale. Now, Section 30 provides that these people it states that the following shall not participate to purchase the mortgage land without the leave of court. And it says, one, a mortgagor. Remember, a mortgagee. The mortgagee is the bank or anyone that lends you money, anyone that is financially recognized under the laws of Uganda as a person who can participate in the business of lending out money. So that is someone called a mortgagee. Under the laws of Uganda, they can participate when a bank is carrying out what we call its right of sale. The second person that the bank refuses to participate in a right of sale is someone who will call an employee of the mortgagee. An employee of the mortgagee, that would be now in this particular situation, the people have stated above, Mr. Emmanuel, the employees of Stanbic Bank cannot participate in a purchase because it is a violation of this particular clause. So in the hypothetical situation that you who's watching the video are in the same situation like Miss Beatrice, and hypothetically, let's say you fail to pay back the loan to the bank, ideally what is supposed to happen is what we call the bank practicing or carrying out what is defined as its right to sell. Now, its right to sell, I talk about this extensively in a video I'm going to leave somewhere on this screen. Kindly check it out. I did a video some time back about, I think it's called a family sues bank, family loses 8 billion, sues bank for fraud or something like that. I'm also going to leave it linked in the description box of this video. Please watch it, because it's going to help you understand what I mean by right to sell. Now, when you fail to pay the loan back to the bank is going to carry out what we call a right of sale, but there are guidelines under the law that a bank is supposed to follow when it's carrying out its right of sale. Yes, the bank has what we call a right of sale, but the law still tries to give parameters that the bank has to follow when it's carrying out this right of sale. And if the bank conducts this sale without following these guidelines, you as the viewer, and also in this context Miss Beatrice, has an opportunity to challenge this sale on those grounds for violating the guidelines. Section 27 of the Mortgage Act provides that the right of sale has guidelines that must be observed, lest the sale will be declared null and void at the benefit of you, the mortgagor, who's watching this video. And yes, you can challenge those guidelines. Beatrice's story proceeds to say that her property was acquired by Stanbic Bank, and apparently the property is behind the company that purchased the property, employees of Stanbic Bank. And she proceeds to say that the company that bought her properties, Married Investment Company, the shareholders in this company are former employees of and current employees of Stanbic Bank, therefore creating a questionable environment. According to confirmation conducted by the CEO magazine, apparently the company shareholders, as per the registration of Married Investment Club, are one. There's Kenneth Katungu, who's the executive head of global marketing at Stanbic Bank. There's Lawrence, who is the global business manager, Stanbic Bank. There's Aaron Muhinda, who's the investment rates dealer, Stanbic Bank. There's Daisy, who's the treasurer sales dealer, Stanbic Bank. There's Emmanuel, who's the head of product analytics, Stanbic Bank. There's Maureen, who's the Stanbic Bank, who's working in Stanbic Bank Nigeria. Then finally there's Lubega, who's the treasurer manager, Stanbic Bank in Uganda. So Married Investment Company, according to the CEO magazine, was allegedly formed in January 2020, and it then acquired Macdowell's properties only 2 months after its creation. So this creates a very interesting environment. This particular argument by Ms. Beatrice raises a discussion in regards to who can participate in, or who the bank is legally allowed to sell the property to when it's conducting its right of sale, and the law has something to say about that. In Section 30 of the Mortgage Act, it provides for the persons that the law considers should not participate when the bank is carrying out its right of sale. And I'm going to state exactly what the provision provides. It states that Section 30 of the Mortgage Act states the following: that shall not be permitted to purchase the mortgage land without the leave of court. There's one, the mortgagee, i.e. this is the bank or any financial institution that practices or carries out the trade of lending money to individuals, and it also needs to be recognized by Bank of Uganda as a business licensed under the laws of Uganda to carry out the business of loaning money. So anyone that does this business is what we would define as a mortgagee, and according to the law, you cannot have your own cake and eat it. So you cannot participate in when you're carrying out a right of sale and then you also participate in buying that property. Then 2, the law provides for someone we call an employee of the mortgagee, or any family member of the employee of the mortgagee. So what this means is, if you work in a bank or in that financial institution that is carrying out that right of sale, you should not participate in that sale, because the law presumes that since you are an employee of the mortgagee, you have privy knowledge, you have extensive knowledge, you have an inside peek of what exactly that the entire transaction is. You have an advantage point of view that may help you make a better decision or judgment that may come at the expense of other parties involved in the sale. So ideally, you actually have what we would call insider knowledge, so it doesn't really create a leveled playground with other participants in the sale. So the law looks at you as someone who should not participate in that. And in the same spirit, your family members, because you have the knowledge, you may share that information with your sister, your brother, your mother, your sister, giving them still an advantageous point of view that may give them an edge during the sale. In the same spirit, any individual that with the law or looks like they may have a superior advantageous position, or just generally have a superior frontier in this transaction, the law presumes that you should not participate in this right of sale, because you have a superior edge in this transaction. However, like I said, this is the general presumption. So this means that all the employees that I've discussed above that are behind this Myraid Investment Club technically are not supposed to have purchased Miss Beatrice Odongo's property because of this provision alone, because the law presumes that they have insider knowledge and they're actually now carrying out what we call insider trading, which is illegal. Just don't participate in that. So by default, this is grounds to challenge that sale, and if the court deems fit, it may actually revert the property Miss Odongo has lost to Myraid Investment Club, and yes, and have her property reverted back. Now the law is also alive to this general rule and provides exceptions that may guarantee these individuals I've discussed above to participate in the trade, and I'm going to explain exactly what this means. The law proceeds to state further that where the mortgagee sells the mortgage land in contravention to this section, that sale shall be declared null and void, because the mortgagee has conducted the sale and violated the provision that requires that such persons should not participate in the sale because they are having an advantageous point at the expense of other individuals that may be involved in the transaction. So if you know a sister, a brother, a mother that's working in a bank, and they hint about, hey, you know, this you should buy this property because it's up for auction, just don't. Section 39 clause 2 of the Mortgage Act provides that any person who purchases mortgage property contrary to section 30 of the Mortgage Act commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not less than 48 currency points, which is around 960,000 Uganda shillings, but not exceeding around 2 million. So the court will gauge in between 960,000 Uganda shillings to 2 million. That's when they're trying to find a fine to penalize you for, and then they'll also impose a prison sentence of about 24 to 60 months. So the court will either gauge to either give you the fine or the prison sentence, or a combination of both. So it just depends on who the judge before and how, what mode they're in. Section 39 clause 3 of the Mortgage Act continues to say that any bank that participates in this sale, now everyone in this transaction, the law is trying to hold all the individuals held in this transaction accountable, and it provides that the mortgagee, who's the bank who sells a mortgage property, in breach of their duty to the mortgagor, who is you, the person that is watching this video, that endeavored to try and get the loan from the bank, that bank commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 200 currency points, which is around 4 million. But I think for a multinational institution like a bank, really 4 million is cheap money, but who knows, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, so remember, in this video I've been encouraging to watch a video I did a while back, which is I'm going to leave linked somewhere here. It's called Family Loses 8 billion and accuses bank of fraud. In that video, I talk about what we call right of sale. Now, again, to recap, when you fail to pay back the loan to the bank can practice what we call right of sale, where it will sell the property, but then again there are guidelines that the bank should follow when it's carrying out that right of sale. Now, one of the provisions in that stipulation is that like I've discussed, the first segment we've discussed who should participate in that right of sale, and if the bank fails to conduct that sale to people that the law deems are fit to practice in that right of sale, you can challenge that sale. Now, two, the bank also provides for the guidelines also provide for how that right of sale should be conducted. So ideally, under the laws of Uganda, we have, the laws of Uganda provide for how that sale should be conducted. This is stated for in section 28 of the Mortgage Act, 28 clause 1, which states that by a mortgage sale can be conducted by public auction unless if the mortgagor, which would be you, agree to have a private sale. So a public auction is when the property is sold to the general public. So normally what happens is they will put out an auction ad in newspapers where everyone will see it, and then they'll set a date, and then they have like in a general auditorium where people come and place their bids and say, I'm willing to offer this amount of money, I'm willing to offer this amount of money, and the person who offers the highest bid according to the provision, according to auction status, gets to purchase the property, right? Now, if there's an agreement between you, the mortgagee, and the bank, then there can be a relationship where you guys can concede to sell the property privately to a private individual without necessarily having to put the information in the general public domain. Yes. It provides that where the mortgage land is to be sold by public auction. Now, this provides situations where the persons we've discussed above can participate in purchase of the land. Like I said, there's a general rule. Now, in this segment, I want to discuss the exceptions where these special people can participate in the sale. And one of the ways these special individuals can participate in this sale is if they participate in a public auction, right? Now, it states that where the mortgage land is to be sold by public auction, the mortgagee or other persons mentioned above, remember, by these persons I mean the bank, employees of the bank, relatives of employees of the bank, then they can participate if one, they offer the highest price bid for the land at the auction. It has to be a public auction. And then two, there's equal to or higher, the money they offer for the property has to be equal to or higher than the reserve price if it is put before auction. And then finally, they have at the immediate fall of the hammer, that person has to endeavor to seek the court to pronounce itself on the matter. So let me first discuss clause 2. So what this means is reserve price is usually what is the market value, what is the assumed market value of the property. Hypothetically speaking, let's say this is my security to the bank, right? And current market value would put this at around for $40,000 US, yeah. So if we're having a public auction, then I'm going to tell you that the market value of this is estimated at around $40,000 US. But if we're having a public auction and I, who has relation to a bank employee, I want to purchase the property, then at the auction I bid for this at around $80,000 US. Now, if we go to court, despite the fact that I'm related to an employee of the bank, the fact that I've paid almost higher the price of this, remember we said this is $40,000 US, I paid $80,000 US, the sale will not really be that over scrutinized because I've paid over and above the market value over cap. So technically, I've given good investment to all the parties involved in the transaction. In the same spirit, now that I've finished making a purchase for this, then I have to proceed to court to pronounce and tell them, hey, you guys, I made this purchase. Yes, I may have relation to one of the employees of the company, but I made this purchase. The court will take time to look into the entire transaction, try and gauge and see if there are any loopholes or if it's tinted with any funny business. If it's not, then the court will grant me an order, which order then I will attach to the transaction to the bank. Then the bank will attach it to formalize the transaction to officially say this person bought this property, which was also going to be attached to sale agreement. Now that I've finished conducting and also filing the necessary paperwork, remember paperwork is very important. If you do not do that due diligence during paperwork, the entire thing can just go crashing down, and that's not good for you. So when I finish conducting the entire paperwork, then the transaction is complete, and I'm now the official owner of a $40,000 cup. Lucky me, right? If you've enjoyed the explanations I've given and you've enjoyed this entire conversation, kindly like this video, go down in the comment section, give me a comment, feedback, suggestion. I really look forward to reading your comments and just engaging with you guys. It's really a pleasant experience. Until next week's video. They asked me about the law YouTube channel, a place where we have free and honest conversations about the law, and I was your host, Macdowel Ltd. If you have any comments, feedback, suggestions, please leave them under this video in the comment section. I always endeavor to reply to each and every comment. If you enjoyed this video, kindly give it a thumbs up. If you have any comment, feedback, please leave them in the comment section of this video. I really look forward to listening from you guys. If you have any questions, inquiries, comment section, or you can also check out our social media handles, the handles that ask me about the law. I'm going to leave them linked in the description box of this video. Kindly check them out. Also, if you'd like to talk to me, I'm going to leave my socials in the description box of this video. Check it out. Remember, wear your mask, stay safe.